Hey guys, it's Robyn, your Scentsy fragrance consultant. Welcome back and welcome if you're new. Today I have got a review video on the Scentsy candles. Now, Scentsy is coming out with candles on September 1st. We are starting with two scents, Cider Mill and Pumpkin Roll. The candles are 12.5 ounces and burn, they say for 48 hours, 40 to 48 hours. I would argue we're probably gonna get more burn time out of this, but I will go to that in a minute. The scents. Cider Mill and Pumpkin Roll are both tried and true best-selling favorites. So I do like that they chose those scents. Pumpkin Roll is kind of like your bakery pumpkin, gently spiced, cakey type scent. It's got brown sugar, it's got like a nutty note to it almost, like it's so good. Cider Mill is kind of your classic fall scent, just like straight up fall. Apple pumpkin cider deliciousness. So that is the scents we're working with, just the two scents to start with. I believe we are getting more scents later. They did mention at SFR there will likely be holiday scents coming as well. I don't know details on that just yet. So I have burned this candle a fair bit. I have burned it 5 times for 4 hours each time. And I was careful to stick with that 4-hour time frame because that is what Scentsy says to do in their FAQ. They say don't let it burn for longer than 4 hours. So I took that seriously. I blew it out at 4 hours. And so that is what we did. So as you can see here, it started out, I can see the wax light in person really well. Started out right there as far as wax fill. So in 20 hours, I've burned through that much wax, which I would say is probably under 2 centimeters or maybe like 3/4 of an inch. So that is how much I've burned through, and I still have this much left. So I would say I've used approximately 1/3 of the candle. And so 20 hours, I've used 1/3. I would then math out that I would realistically probably get approximately 60 hours out of this candle. I do know that the final 1/2 inch isn't burnable because it's like a safety thing. They've got it so it's designed to leave 1/2 inch at the bottom. So I expect to get 60 hours based on the current rate of burning. So they say 40 to 48. My experience is it seems like it's going to be burning slower than they're suggesting. Now, people have a lot of thoughts on these candles. There's been a lot of conversation, some positive, some really against the candles. I personally fall in between. I don't really have a strong opinion either way. I have no problem with Scentsy offering candles. I just personally don't burn a lot of candles. So I do buy candles. I buy Bath & Body Works candles all the time. I buy them, I put them under my candle lamp, and I warm them that way alongside my wax. Just wanted to share kind of where I'm coming from as far as like lens here. I don't have a strong opinion either way on whether we have candles. At the end of the day, I think giving people choices on what they want to use or what they want to purchase or not purchase is kind of a good idea. So my hope with making this video is that it will help you decide whether you're interested in these candles or not. Maybe you already know. If you're firmly already team candle or team no candles, you already know whether these are for you or not. But if you're kind of in the middle and you're kind of like a fence sitter like I am, I'm hoping this video will help you decide whether these candles are worth it for you. So the annoying thing is, I'm not going to tell you at the end of this whether these are worth it or not. Like, I don't know that for each individual person. I think for some people they will be worth it, and for other people they won't be. So I'm going to give you the pros and cons of this candle, and there are pros and cons, and I'll let you decide whether this is something you want to try. So we will start with the pros. The first pro is just very simply that these are very pretty. It's pretty. It's got a thick, clinky, heavyweight glass. It is a thick glass. It's frosted on both sides. It is a quality vessel as far as I can tell. Nice thick base here of the glass, which I think is partly a safety feature as well. Because yes, they've designed it so that the wicks burn out with 1/2 inch of wax left. And also they've got this thick base here. So it does seem like a quality jar, and I'm guessing that is partly adding to the price as well. The logo is beautiful. I love it. I do feel like I wish it had just been a shape rather than an S in this case, because the S looks very monogram-like, which if you have an S person in your life or S has significance to you is fantastic. But for me, I don't have any significance with the letter of S in my household or life. So the S is kind of just for Scentsy in this case. And I would have preferred if it was just like a circle or some kind of like shape rather than the S, but it is very beautiful, and that is nitpicking. So overall, beautiful jar. The vessel feels very heavyweight. It feels high quality. The downside of that is, since this glass is so thick and heavy, it does retain a lot of heat. So when this was burning, I found it got very hot. Yeah, so it got hot to the touch. And I mean, that also sounds kind of funny to say because yeah, it was on fire. It's going to get hot. So it got hot, but I did feel like it held more heat in this glass than most jars do because it is such a thick glass. Now at SFR, they talked about how these are a smoke-free candle, or as smoke-free as possible. And I will say I didn't notice any smoking while these were lit. So you do have to maintain the wicks. And I did trim these wicks at one point. This one needs to be trimmed again. I did maintain the wicks, but in doing that, I did not notice any like little pillars of smoke coming off of these at all when it was lit. I also didn't notice any sooting on the wall behind it, nothing like that. So that was positive. Of course, it did smoke when it was burnt, when it was blown out, and we'll talk about that in a minute as well. But yeah, no smoke while it was lit. That I did find to be true. The other thing I liked about this candle is that not often, but I have bought candles before, and not even necessarily cheap candles. I have bought nice candles before where you burn it a few times and then the wicks start to like shrink and shrink and shrink, and then the flame just gets smaller and smaller, and then eventually your candle's just unusable. That is so frustrating because there's really no way to fix that I've found. As you can see, this is still looking pretty good. I have had no issues keeping the wicks long enough with this. You do have to trim them, but I haven't had them shrink on me. So the wicks are holding themselves pretty well there. So I would say, yes, I've not had any issues with puny or shrinking wicks. The wicks do seem high quality. You do have to maintain them like you do with any candle, but I haven't had any issues with the wicks. The wicks do seem very, very good. The other thing I've got here on the pros list is kind of a pro and a con, and we'll get into that in a minute. This is a very, very slow burning candle. Now the pro of that is that it means you get more hours out of it and it lasts a longer time, which makes it a better value. The con of that is that it takes a long, long time to pool out. So we'll talk about that more in a minute. But yes, if you're looking for a slower burning, longer lasting candle, this one is a slower burn and a longer lasting candle. The other thing I like about these as a pro is that they're very giftable. It's not like gifting someone wax melts where you have to know they have a warmer, and if they don't, you have to gift them one. This is something that everyone knows how to work a candle. So you can gift this to literally anybody and they will be able to use it day one out the gate. The other thing is I have people in my life who do like home fragrance, but they're super casual with it. Like they just want it once in a while, once every couple weeks, they want fragrance in their home. Whereas of course me, and if you're watching this video, probably you too, you probably want scent in your house every day. But not everyone is like that. So these are a very giftable item because if you're just one of those casual scent people, you probably don't want a warmer sitting out all the time because you're not going to use it all the time. A candle, you can just have out, light it when you want to, and it's very easy. You throw it away or recycle it when you're done. That's easy, and I think for a lot of people that is kind of more what they want. So for those folks, we do now have an option, which I like, because before we didn't really have any option that was a good giftable item for a casual fragrance consumer. Because we have the wax and warmers, which requires that you have warmers out. We have the diffuser and oils, which requires that you have a diffuser unit. And we have the pod systems, which require that you have a pod dispensing unit, either the Scentsy Air or the wallflower plug or something like that. We do have the fragrance flowers, which are very giftable as well, but now we have just a good old-fashioned candle. There's no instructions needed. People know how to work candles. So that is my pros list. I do have one note here that is kind of right in the middle of the road. It's neither a pro nor a con, just an observation. When this was lit, people have asked me a lot about scent throw. Scentsy in their printed materials did note that this is a softer scent throw product, and it will not be as strong as wax melts, which is something I would agree with. So when this was burning, the first time I burned it, I mostly just smelled candle. Like, you know, the smell of a candle burning. It wasn't a kerosene scent. It wasn't a burnt smell, but it was like, there's something lit here. There's a flame in here is what I could smell. Like a lit candle. That's what you could smell. That was the first time. The first time I burned this, I really didn't get any fragrance from it. The second time I burned it, I don't know what changed. If it was just that it got further down into the wax pool and there was more oil down there. The second time I burned it and forward, I did smell a little bit of fragrance. It was fairly soft. You could get kind of a gentle berry scent if you looked for it. It wasn't super, super strong. Now, granted, this was in my open layout, and I did have wax going at the same time. So it would be very difficult for a single candle to overpower the wax I had in my warmers. So there is that. You may have a different experience with the candle throw if you're melting it in a space that is otherwise unscented. But for the most part with this, the primary scent is just kind of a lit candle scent. You know that smell of just lit candle. Again, not kerosene, not burnt, not that gross, sooty smell that you get from candles sometimes. This was just kind of that warm wax smell that you get from a lit candle sometimes. And it's kind of pleasant. And there was one day I was melting something and I can't remember what it was. What was it? I don't know. I was melting something in my warmers, and the smell of that mixed with this kind of warm wax smell just smelled fantastic together. I loved that. So that was lovely. And I would keep one of these candles around for that alone myself. Now, if you are looking to just scent your home pure and simple, I don't think this is the most efficient way to do it, to be honest. I think wax melts are more efficient for scenting your home if that's what you want to do. This had a pretty glow, it had pretty ambiance. I liked that about it. I liked that the glass is frosted so you can see the flames through it. And actually, I'll show you what I did with it as far as like my setup with this candle. Because I had it like sitting on my bookcase fairly high up, because for me, my household is, you know, a big dog and a child, and I wanted to keep it out of reach. But here's what I did. So I had it sitting next to my Starry Pumpkin warmer on my bookcase, just next to some fall stuff. And it was pretty. I feel like lit, it's very, very beautiful. Just really, really pretty. So there it is lit. And like you can see, the flame does light up the wax a little bit as well, so you can see the outline of the logo. It's pretty lit. Very, very pretty. So there's what it looks like lit. And I did enjoy that ambiance. But as for scent throw, I would say it is a lighter scent throw. I do not think this is a super efficient way to scent your home if that's what you want to do. It does add a little bit of scent, but mostly that scent is just kind of like a little perk rather than the main appeal of the candle. So if your primary goal with the candle is to scent your home, I would say try something different. If that is your primary goal, I would skip these. If you are okay with a softer scent throw and just that kind of nice, warm, melty burning candle smell, then yes, this does do that. So that is my pros list. It is beautiful, it has a nice glow, has a nice heavyweight, high quality vessel, but it does get hot. It does not smoke or soot while burning. It is giftable, and you can get these with host rewards as well. So the price point, you can bundle 3 of these for 20% off, or if you have a party going, you can get these individually, not as a bundle, with your host rewards. They did say the bundles of candles will not be eligible for host rewards. So if you want to get these at a discount, you can either choose 3 for 20% off or single candles with half offs or credits. So there is that. And again, the price point regularly will be $30 US or $44 Canadian. So it is a higher price point than some of the competition, and I'll talk about that a bit more towards the end as well here. Okay, cons. I do have a significant cons list as well. Again, the first con is there's not nearly as much scent throw as there is with wax melts. Not even competing. You can't even compete. Like, there's no competition for the scent throw. Not nearly as much throw as wax melts. Now, the other thing is, you do have to babysit your wicks. You have wicks here, they have to be babysat. Now, I mean, you do have to clean out warmer dishes too if you're using warmers. But with this, it's just you're dealing with wicks. The other thing that was a huge con for me, this was probably my biggest con. I had some issues with tunneling. As you can see, it's not really tunneling now. It's more just like wax buildup on the side. It's fine most of the way around, but there is this patch that did not fully pool out. Now, the first time I burned this candle, I got concerned. I was not a happy camper the first time I burned this because I took pictures here. I'll show you. The first time I burned it, I took a photo at the 3-hour mark, and this is what the candle looked like at that point. As you can see, there's some definite tunneling there on the top and the bottom. So that is the 3-hour mark on the first burn. The second burn, it fixed itself a little bit. This side's getting much better. This side is getting a little better, but it's still significant tunneling. And then the third time I burned it, and then going forward, it seemed to kind of sort itself out. Here's what it looked like that third time after 4 hours. Again, the top is completely pooled out now. The bottom has just this little lip here, which is what you see now as well. So that's what it looks like. Now, the thing here, I think this might be a problem with my particular candle, and I can't say it's going to happen to every candle, because if you look at the wick placement here, I feel like these are just a little bit high. I feel like they should be sitting just a couple millimeters lower. And I think the fact that they're sitting, like, I feel like there's less white space here than there is here. This is a larger gap than this part, and I think they're just not quite centered. So I think if they were perfectly centered, it probably would have pooled out perfectly. But my personal candle did not. So most candles probably will, but these are hand poured. So the fact that they're hand poured is a pro on one hand, but it's also a con because it means that there's going to be variations in wick placement because they're hand poured. The other thing with my particular candle, this wick's fine. This one, you can see it's just a little bit closer to the glass. This one's just a little further away from the glass. It's not very noticeable, but if you're making a bunch of these candles at once, this could easily happen. It's just a little close to the glass. It's a little close for comfort to the glass to me. I think it's like a centimeter max away from that glass. So I think it's a little close. I do think that contributed to this getting hotter than it maybe should have. That is just my observation with this candle. Now, Again, this is a new thing for them. I'm assuming whoever's hand pouring these candles is new at it because they just started with these. So I'm hoping as they get better and more familiar with pouring candles, they have that sorted out. So if you get a candle where the wicks are not quite 100% where they should be, and you notice some tunneling and wax buildup, contact support. But also know that it may also get better by itself, because for the most part, mine did. However, for this price point, I do not want to see any unmelted wax sitting on the edge of the vessel. I don't want to see that at all. So if you have that happen, I would contact support, because I don't think that is a realistic thing to have happen at this price point. Another con I have is this thing stinks when you blow it out. It doesn't smell better or worse than any other candle. It just, when you blow out candles, they smoke and it stinks. So when you blow it out, I timed it. It smokes for anywhere between 13 and 29 seconds when you blow it out. Just kind of varied by the day. But yeah, it smokes and it puts smoke into your environment, and then your house smells like smoke when you blow it out. I don't like that. I have breathing issues. I don't want to deal with that. That is one of the reasons I don't like candles personally. Now, if you're used to burning candles, it's going to be no different for you with this. It's the same as every other candle. For me though, that is a con. Again, it's not a specific to this candle con. It is just a con with candles in general. But it does smoke when you blow it out. So it is smoke free, like they said it is, when it's lit. But when you blow it out, it does smoke and it smells bad. Another one of my major issues with this candle that is specific to this candle is that it takes forever to pool out. So they say don't leave it lit for longer than 4 hours. Well, you can see there in my pictures, there were some times where I had it lit for 4 hours and I had to blow it out before it was even fully pooled out, because it was at the 4 hour mark, but it hadn't fully pooled out yet. So that was one thing I found, is with this one, you're pretty much committed to sitting at home for 4 hours once you light this. There was one day where I wanted to go run some errands about an hour after I lit this, and it's like, I can't even blow it out because I'm going to ruin my candle. If I blow it out when it's just like barely pooling, it's going to ruin the candle. Once a candle starts to tunnel, it doesn't really recover from that very well. You tend to have tunneling forever then with that candle. So to avoid that, you do have to leave it lit for the full 4 hours, I've found, at least with mine. And I don't love that personally. Like I said, it's a double-edged sword, because on one hand, you're getting better bang for your buck from this candle then, because it's going to burn for more hours, which is a better value. But the downside is it takes a long time to pool out, which means you're now going to have to leave it lit for longer. Yeah, so there's that. And of course, the final con is just a candle con in general, not specific to this one. It's an open flame. At the end of the day, it's an open flame. And if you are opposed to that, this is probably going to be a problem for you, as will any candle. So I ran some math on the price point of this candle. So in the US, this will be $30. If you bundle them as a 3-pack, they will be $24 each. Now, $24 each, I think, is a fairly reasonable price point. I wouldn't say it's a cheap price point. I think it's a fair enough price point. In Canada, these are $44 each, and if you bundle them for 20% off, it will be $35.20 each. I think that's still steep. I think that's steep for the Canadians. For the Americans at $24, I think that's reasonable. But the Canadian price point, even bundled, I think is a little high personally. For myself, as a Canadian, this is something I'll only purchase with host rewards myself. And I think at the end of the day, it comes down to, are you a candle person or not? Because if you're not a candle person, or you don't burn candles very often, I wouldn't even bother. If you're a candle lamp person like myself, I use my candle lamp fairly regularly. I have not tried this under my candle lamp personally, because someone at SFR at head office had said they have not safety tested the candles for under candle lamps, and they can't recommend that. And I thought at first, I kind of scoffed. I was like, well, nobody tests their candles for candle lamps, so that's fine. It's probably just a legal disclaimer. But after I've burned this and seeing how hot this glass does get when it's lit, I think it holds more heat than most candle jars. And because of that, I would hesitate to have it under a hot halogen bulb for that long. I don't know. It would probably be fine. It would probably be fine. But I just don't want to do that. The other thing is, these are only going to be available in scents that are currently available, as wax melts as well. And the wax melts, like I said, are a stronger scent throw and more of a true scent, because this one you have that kind of warm candle wax smell. The wax melts are just pure scent. And so if I want to smell pumpkin roll in my house, I could put this under my lamp in a pumpkin roll candle, but it's still not going to be as strong or as pure of a throw as just throwing in a bar of pumpkin roll. So for my purposes, I don't know that these are worth it for the candle lamp, in which case they're only worth it if you're going to burn them. And if that's the case, it's going to come down to whether you're a candle person or not at the end of the day. I do think where I will purchase these is once in a while to have one for myself, but for the most part, it will be for gifting for those people in my life, like I talked about, who aren't necessarily big everyday home fragrance people, but they do enjoy the ambiance of a candle sometimes. This is, I think, for those folks. I think burning this, I was reminded how I just am not a huge candle person. I just am not. I feel uneasy having an open flame in my house. And that's not to say anyone else should. That's just to say that in my personal household, with my circumstances and my household and the people and animals in my household, I just feel uneasy with it. I prefer the wax melts, and I like the freedom of just being able to like leave my house and come and go as I please without having to like think about my home fragrance and if my candle is lit or not, or if it's fully pulled out or not, and that stuff. I just think wax melts are easier and more flexible that way. But again, this is easier in that you don't have to clean out wax dishes. You don't have to do any of that. You're just going to blow it out and light it, and that's easy. So pros and cons. Again, is it worth it for you? That is something for you to determine. As far as the price point, there's been a lot of comparison of price points here. You have people on one hand comparing it to the Bath & Body Works candles. And I do think that's a fair comparison. I think Bath & Body Works is a fair comparison. However, Bath & Body Works puts their candles on sale pretty regularly for like $13. That's fairly common. They did that recently. I actually ordered a couple. They did that recently. However, Bath & Body Works has a new candle line that is a soy blend, very similar sounding to this one. It has a higher end like ceramic jar vessel. So this one's glass, there's a ceramic. This one does seem to be, I think, a very fair comparison to the newer soy blend Bath & Body Works candle. I think that's a better comparison than the regular Bath & Body Works candle. That new soy blend Bath & Body Works candle is $39.95 US, and you cannot get it on sale. They do not put that one on sale when the other candles go on sale. So at that point, the price point becomes, okay, the Scentsy one in the US is actually a better price point than the Bath & Body Works equivalent. In Canada, not quite so much. But yeah, so I think that's kind of where that sits. I think, I think if we're comparing apples to apples, I think that new soy blend candle is probably the best competition for brand and quality and stuff to this one. Other people, on the other hand, are comparing this candle to the higher end luxury candles like Nest, Voluspa, Tom Ford. And I don't think that's an apples to apples comparison at all. I think this is a very different, like Scentsy is not Tom Ford. Even if our wax is incredibly high quality and so is Tom Ford's, I don't think we compare ourselves to Tom Ford because we are not a luxury, high-end, long-standing fashion fragrance house. That is not what Scentsy is. We're not Tom Ford. I do think Bath & Body Works is a better comparison, but I think I would put the quality probably higher than the regular 3-wick candles, and I would put it probably more in line to the new soy blend candles that Bath & Body Works came out with, which are the higher price point and are exempt from sales. So at that point, I think the price point becomes more realistic. But even still, I think it's a little on the high side myself. Like I said, for Canadians especially, I think for US, I think it's all right, especially if you're going to bundle it or get it with rewards. For us Canadian folks, though, I do think this is just a bit high. Even bundled at $35.20 is a little high. Again, good price point for gifting at that point, but just a little high for personal use. And again, for that reason, this is something I'll personally only get with host rewards. But again, if I was a bigger candle person, I might consider it more thoroughly. But at the end of the day, I think it comes down to whether you're a candle person. And I did a poll on my Instagram a while back, and it sounds like 60 to 70% of us do use candles. So a lot of us are using candles. And so for those folks, I don't think this is a bad move for Scentsy to make candles. But we'll see how it goes. Like, I'm not sure. I'm curious to see how these do. Again, I have mixed feelings. I like them okay, but I do have some reservations. Yeah, I'm kind of still neutral on them, really. There's pros and cons. I personally am just not a candle person. So yeah, that is my thoughts in a nutshell. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts. Are these something you're interested in? Are these something that your customers have sounded interested in? Because every time I've mentioned Scentsy doing candles now, like for people who don't normally buy Scentsy, they're thrilled when I mention that. They're like, oh, really? And they seem to get actually quite excited. So I'm excited to see how these do. Like, I'm curious. Like, are these going to be a hit or are these going to just kind of fall flat? I'm curious. So we'll see. We'll see how they do. But again, those are available September 1st at midnight in pumpkin roll and in cider mill, and they are 12.5 ounces. They did mention that 1 wicks and 3 wicks will be coming down the road. We don't have details on that yet. Other than that, hope that was helpful. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.